Welcome in, everybody. It's another night of dialogues on the channel. Hello, Jen. Good to see you.
Hello. Good to
I,
see you.
I'm excited. We got another, we just keep piling them up one after another. Amazing, incredibly talented Disney artists, Disney authors, Imagineers. This is a great segment of the channel, and glad we could do it. Stephanie's going to be a blast tonight.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I actually was talking with my mom earlier about
Hmm.
all of our dialogue shows and about how, all of these people are artists, but we have never had two artists exactly the same.
No,
So you think artist, you think it's the same, but it's not. It's so
no,
different. They each bring their own different talents and skill sets and opportunities that they've had in their careers, and it,
absolutely.
it just makes it very entertaining, and I love it. Every show is a great
That's great.
time to learn about these artists. It's so much fun.
Great conversation with her mom, a great point of reference. She's in the chat, along with so many other friends.
Appreciate
Fred O'Malley,
it.
Surf Bum, Sebastian the Crab is here. Hello, Jeanette. Mr. Thibodeau is here. Debbie Bernfeld, Douglas is here. So many other friends. Pitts is here. Paul Engel's in the house. Vicky Gillespie, a lot of great friends. T. Marie's Place. Good to see you guys all here. Miss Thunert, welcome in. We're gonna have a great show tonight. We keep talking about the talent and how it keeps rocking. Jen, look at
Mhm,
some of these pieces. This is a couple of Stephanie's pieces here, highly focused on Disney and pets. You'll see a lot of this nature
mhm.
coming in her thing. That I just, I know you're not a Stitch lover, but
I
that is a good Stitch piece right
I
there.
know. And that is the comment I was going to make. I'm not a Stitch fan, but how adorable is that? Come on,
Unbelievable. Well
look at
done.
that.
Well done. Look, I love Up. It's one of my favorites, and the Orange Bird.
No,
Look at these pieces. This is just incredible. I love her
no.
her impression that she puts on with how she brings this along. It's just
Mhm,
look at that. Serpum says, "Wow, awesome Stitch." Absolutely there. So
mhm.
uh, look at this. I love being down there. You got the teacups, the
I think that's
carousel,
my
and Dumbo.
favorite.
That's incredible. I love
I
that
yeah,
piece.
I genuinely think that's my favorite, with the teacups, with the Dumbo just flying up above like that. Like, that's what you remember as a kid going to Disney.
Yes.
You went on Dumbo, you went on the merry-go-round, you
Uh-huh.
went on the teacups. Those were like the kids' rides.
Uh-huh.
So like early memories for me, that's what it was. So that's why I
Absolutely.
love that so much.
Magic Fanatic is in here, says love it. Julie McCowan. Hello, Miss McCowan. She says adorable. Daniel Barry's in here now. Julie says so true. The colors too. As a kid, colors just
Mhm,
jump out at you. Look at the
mhm,
the, the mermaids. And this is again looking at
mhm.
some difference in her arts. The pets, we're big dog people. I'm sure at some point one of them will come crashing through tonight to say hello. This is unbelievable. Debbie Bernfeld says, I love the
Mhm.
upprint, but the teacup is amazing. It's just beautiful stuff. JC
Yeah,
Skipper
it's good.
Bryan, hello, welcome in. Well, as we got so much to show you tonight, as we
Mhm,
go through, we are going to show you a lot of her artwork throughout the slides. So pay attention to the screens. You don't know what's going
mhm.
to come up there. We are going to look at a couple of specific Disney pieces that she has and talk about that tonight. We've got some social media stuff. We've got some links for her for, I believe, Instagram and X and her website that the moderators will be dropping throughout the night. You can give a follow over there. Everybody talks about FOTA, the farts, Festival of the Arts. And how do you know when your favorite or new favorite, maybe Stephanie becomes your new favorite artist tonight? How do you know when they're going to be down there for the festival? Well, follow them on their social medias and they will announce it when the time comes. By the way, this Stitch piece is another one of her pieces down in the corner. I put that in there specifically for
I
Jen
see that.
tonight. I did that on purpose. So
But it's cute. I really like, what's that little doll's name? Was it Scrump? Is Scrump, was that the little doll's name?
if I admit
I
to
think.
you right now that I've never seen the Stitch movie and all the times I've given you a hard time about it and I can't answer that question, we'll just go with the flow. So
Are you kidding me? You've never seen Lilo and Stitch?
I've tried to quit. I really have. I haven't been able to.
See, Tina said yes, Scrump. So cute. That was a little doll that Lilo made. So cute. I do
Here's
like
what
I do like
I love. I love the coloration of Stitch as a character, and I love the craziness that he brings in on a lot of the shorts and stuff that I've watched. I love her interpretation of Stitch because it
Mhm.
really looks like a more friendly Stitch, not that more. I love
And
her
that's my thing
interpretation.
with Stitch. That's my
Yep.
thing with Stitch is, he's just a little too crazy for
Just
me.
like
But when he's cute like that, then he looks lovable. Then he's, more likable.
we've said the same thing about Doug. So I guess it all works out. Well, let's get into let's get into why don't we tell our guest tonight, or tell all of our guests in the chat a little bit about our guest with us tonight.
Sure, yeah, let's do that. Our guest tonight is an accomplished illustrator and artist
Hmm.
whose work has been featured at Disneyana and showcased at the Festival of Arts, like we were just talking, the Farts Festival in Florida, highlighting her incredible talent and connection to the Disney creative community. Stephanie has been featured at Disneyana and displayed at the Wonderground Gallery since 2017. So that's what, 8 years?
Yeah,
That's quite a long time. She
yeah.
was first showcased at the Epcot International Festival of the Arts in 2021.
Hmm.
Our guest has been a passionate gamer since the young age of 4 and even placed fourth in her state at the Nintendo Power Fest back in
That's
1994.
pretty cool.
That's just awesome. A true statement to her lifelong connection to gaming and pop culture. Stephanie is a true nature lover at heart with hands
Hmm.
on training in wildlife rehabilitation. She has volunteered at wildlife hospitals and has a special passion for caring for squirrels, bringing compassion and dedication to every creature that she helps. Gotta love those squirrels, right? Right, Doug? Squirrels.
Absolutely. I know Doug's happy with that.
It is our honor to welcome to the show an incredibly talented artist who shares her skills across multiple platforms with great success. Please join us in welcoming Stephanie Laberis to the show.
Hello, Stephanie. Welcome in.
Hello. How
We're
you
uh,
doing?
we're excited you're here, Jen. That was a great introduction to our guest tonight. I know the chat's excited about you. We already got 30 plus people coming in here already to say hello and find out a little bit more about you and your art. And we're going to roll through all that tonight. Again, don't forget, everybody, as we're doing this, make sure you give the follow to all the socials for our guest tonight, and keep up with it. You can purchase art over, I believe, on her site. We'll talk about that a little bit later, and ways to do that. And also, keep your eyes on the screen, because, like the one right next to you right now, we are going to be featuring Stephanie's art on the screen throughout the day. And you'll see a lot with our furry favored friends from the forest, as I say, or that's the way I explained it to Preston last night as we were doing it. So let's get started here and just let's go from a little bit to get started with somebody that, maybe might not know you, that's in the chat, find you for the first time. Can you share just a simple introduction for us with anybody who might be meeting you for the first time?
My gosh, how do I follow that introduction? Yeah, I mean, I'm Stephanie Laberis. Steph Laberis is fine too. I'm originally from the East Coast, New England, and about 20 some odd years ago, I moved out to the West Coast, and I've been there ever since. Um, like you said, I mean, I adore animals. I adore Disney, and Disney does animals really well. So who knew?
They surely do.
um,
And we were lucky to
yeah.
we were lucky to find you. For Jen and I, we were doing other interviews, as we've done. Many people know on this channel, and two of our friends, Martin, or no, not Martin. It was who was talking? It was Mark, and it was Kenny, right? Yamada. Is that who it was that was out
Yes.
there? It was Mark and Kenny. So that were out talking with you out in Disneyland, and happened to be talking about these interviews and what we were doing, and they shared a little bit about it. And then Kenny reached out. It was Kenny. Kenny reached out to me and said,
Yeah, it was
"Would you
Kenny.
be
Mhm.
interested?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So word of mouth works great, and I'm glad that they helped us out and did that. So I'm excited. We're
Yes,
gonna have.
thank you, Kenny.
Thank you, Kenny. Yeah, he may be watching tonight, Ninja. Who knows? He's got doing stuff from his studio all the time. Real quick before we move along here. Gloria, hello, welcome in. I just want to make sure I got Magic Fanatic. Just didn't want to miss anybody coming in tonight. I think I got everybody, Jen.
Okay. I'm sure if you didn't get them, they'll let you know.
Mhm.
I want to talk for a second because I already saw a comment in the chat about your upbringing in New England. We have lots of friends here in the chat from New England as well. And your love for nature and animals has shaped who you are today. How did the simple joys of watching cartoons and playing video games as a kid influence the path you've taken in your life?
Oh man. So I kind of had like a split childhood, as a kid in terms of like being out in nature and then being in front of the TV. Like,
Hmm.
I know that screen time is kind of a debatable thing right now, but I kind of feel like it wasn't really a bad thing for me growing up.
Right.
Um, in terms of, the video games and the cartoons, I mean, I was a kid in the 80s, dating myself here. But that was a really cool time for pop culture because video games were just becoming a thing and we were
Right.
still in the golden age of Saturday morning cartoons. And that's also
Right.
when the Disney afternoon had just gotten kicked off,
Right.
So for me, like there was a lot of overlap like between video games and cartoons because I mean video games are as story driven as cartoons, some of them, I
Hmm.
mean Tetris maybe not, but like Legend of Zelda, sure.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
what I would do is I would come home from school and I would basically steal like a stack of my mom's typing paper because she worked at home, and I would go sit in front of the TV, like watch the Disney afternoon or whatever cartoons were on, and I would be drawing alongside when I was watching. Like I'd be drawing my favorite characters, or I would be drawing, original characters that I'd thought up. Like I sort of was drawing like fan fiction before there was a word for that. And video games had the same effect on me. I would kind of make characters or make up my own characters for games that I liked and sort of like inject that into my own stories. So, while I was certainly getting the entertainment and the joy out of playing games and watching cartoons, it was absolutely like feeding my imagination and kind of giving me a scaffolding to work from for my own stories and characters.
That's awesome.
Very cool. That's
That is
very
very
cool.
cool.
Did I just real quick pop it in because we didn't have this in there, but I'm wondering, during that same time frame, it's the same time frame that I was a child of the '80s, and watching Walt's nature shows. Did that play an impact on you and your love of nature as well?
Man, unfortunately, we did not have the Disney Channel growing up.
Okay.
Mm.
So my exposure to Disney was kind of late, like more towards my teen years, if I'm honest. But if there was like a Disney holiday special, something that was on network, I
Hmm.
remember Mickey's Christmas Carol was and still is like a staple of the holiday year for me. So, I still got some bits and pieces.
They're asking, is that an okapi or a doiker? I think it's an okapi, right?
It is an Okapi. Good eye. Nice,
Mhm.
Sebastian.
Yeah, yeah, right. Jeanette's always on it. She's our animal guru. That's her new thing.
Nice.
Effectively today, that's her new thing. All right, let's keep rolling with where we're going here. Let's talk for a second. You mentioned before to me and about your inspirations that have come from Mary Blair, shows like The Lion King, and Nico Marlette as major influences in your life. Each of those carries a unique, distinct, powerful style or impact. Could you talk a little bit about those influences and how they kind of shaped your artistic journey and how their work continues to inspire you today?
Absolutely. So we'll actually start with The Lion King because that was sort of the thing that kicked off my I don't know if it was my passion for animation, but it sort of gave me direction. I was 14 when Lion King came out in theaters, like the original one.
Right.
And like I had said, I loved cartoons, and like I guess when most people would start to age out of them, I was still on board. And I remember sitting in the theater and seeing the wildebeest stampede for the first time, like on the big screen. And I was just breathless. And I just remember thinking to myself, I have no idea what this is, but I want to be part of it. Like this was just something that lit a fire in my head. So I, used my babysitting money to buy the Lion King art book, which is like this giant tome
Right.
that I would drag with me to class, and just kind of flip through because this was, before the days of the internet. So I couldn't look online for concept art. Like I had to learn about it all through this book. And it really sort of just connected a lot of ideas for me. Like I don't know that I was really aware how much I loved animals at that time, but like it makes total sense now that Lion King was the one that resonated for me. I'm not a big Disney
Right.
princess girl. Like no shade to anyone out there that is. Princesses are awesome, but I've always kind of resonated with the animal characters more.
Okay.
Um, so really like after seeing The Lion King, like that's when I became really obsessed with animation and started researching schools, and it really did set me on the path to where I am right now with working in animation for sure.
Love it. Okay. So
With oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, keeping going on, Mary Blair. I mean,
Yeah, so
incredible.
Mary Blair came up a little later for me. When I was in college, I was looking into becoming a character designer for animation. I kind of sussed out by then that I didn't actually like animating. I didn't have the patience for it, but I love design.
Hmm.
And I realized that character design and viz dev were very viable things for an illustrator.
Right.
And that's how I discovered her work, was, through school. And oh my God, what can I say about her? Her her sense of color, like her boldness when especially when she paints on black paper, like for especially for Alice in Wonderland, that she
Yes.
uses these really
Unreal.
saturated cool tones. Her shape language, her work is very graphic, very bold. She's seems very confident in her brushstrokes. There was just this certain like loudness and volume to her work that I just absolutely adored, especially the simplicity, like
Right.
doing
Very
very
clean.
simple graphic artwork. Yes, yes. Doing very simple graphic artwork is difficult because you're not able to work with much but so it has to look right what you have,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Um, so that just completely resonated with me. Uh, as a side note, Ivan Earl as well, I discovered around the same time. Sleeping
Okay.
Beauty, the
Right.
backgrounds, like I think
Right.
they're in a similar camp, the way that they treat shape and light and everything. So,
That's good stuff.
um,
How about for Nico?
Nico, my gosh, he came after Mary Blair for me when I saw Kung Fu Panda. Actually, that's when I got the art book and I saw his sketches for the characters, and I was like, oh my god. For me, what really resonates is he has a fantastic sense of motion, and just the gestures of his characters are so smooth, so fluid, so weighted, so believable. And the way that he concentrates his details on the characters and the shapes, like if you look at one of his alligator characters, you have little tiny eyes and little tiny warts all around the face, like a really thin nose, but then you have this big like chin, with like just a little bit of detail. Like
Right.
his sense of rhythm about the details is just spot on, and I absolutely take that as an influence.
I love that. That's a fantastic answer. Thank you.
Oh, sure.
Well, I want to talk about the inspiration of for your creative process. I mean, it could come from so many different places. You've got memories, people, places, moments in time. I know your sources of inspiration cover a wide range from books to movies and even more. So, could you just open up and elaborate on some of the unique influences that have helped shape your creative journey?
Yeah, so you had mentioned before that there's a lot of pop culture influence, like video games, cartoons, like for sure, and it's kind of an obvious answer, I guess.
Right.
um when I was a kid, I have to confess I wasn't much of a reader, and I mean, I'm sure my publishing, agent is rolling around right now, but um, the books that I really did like as kids were little golden books. Um, and I think again, for a lot of the similar reasons for the art that I like now, a lot of those early golden book artists, like Richard Scarry, a lot of the Eastern European artists, they had very simple graphic painterly styles. Like think
Hmm.
of the Pokey Little Puppy. Like that was my favorite golden book as a kid. Again, animals. Um, so I think that was a big influence for me, was just those big, bold sorts of picture books. Um, and I have to say too that, later in life when I ended up going to art school, I actually ended up not going to the school that was my first choice. I actually was rejected from the school I wanted to go to twice, which was a very humbling and difficult part of my life. But the school that I ended up going to exposed me to so many different mediums that I never ever would have played with before, such as paper making, glassworking, architecture. I mean, I'm in love with Gothic cathedrals, and I couldn't tell you why.
Oh wow.
Um, so I found that it kind of casting a wide net of influence for things that may have nothing to do with character design at all really helped kind of fuel me and make me look at the world differently, which comes back to how I see the world and how my characters exist in that world.
I love that. I love it. This is a great piece too with this up piece, Jen. I know you love this one. Oh, we lost you for a sec, Jen.
Hello, you got
There
me
you
now?
are. There you are.
I love Up so much. I mean, it makes you cry, it makes you smile, and just looking at this picture here, it just kind of brings all the great, wonderful, loving things about that movie together. I just love it.
Well said.
Carl and Ellie are my power couple.
Mhm.
Like I completely
Yeah.
forgot to mention, I'm actually working on
Mhm.
a gigantic mural, not mural, but it's on a canvas, but a gigantic version of Paradise Falls, like Ellie paints over the mantle.
Oh
And when
wow.
this is finished, I'll be hanging it over our mantle, and I'm gonna ask my partner to like paint his hand, magenta, and do the handprint on the back and everything. So
Very nice. That's
Oh,
awesome. I love
that
that.
is sweet. Oh my
I'd love
gosh.
we'd love to see that when it's done. So
absolutely, it's in
yeah.
progress,
Yeah.
but in the next week or so, I'll have it finished.
Oh,
So.
cool. I can't wait
Oh,
to
I
see
love
that. That's
that.
absolutely awesome. All right, let's keep this is another great piece before I even
Mhm.
start. Alice in Wonderland. Look at that piece, everybody. Look at first off to me again. I love when the colors pop. Alice jumps
Mhm.
off the screen at you. The surrounding
Mhm.
coloration of everything, the story that's told within the piece. Was this one of the pieces for for the festival or for Disneyana or is
Yes.
this just okay?
I have to think this was either for the first year of the festival or it was for Wonderground, but I'm pretty sure it was the festival.
That's a gorgeous piece. I love that. Well, and keep going here.
Mhm.
From our past discussions with incredible artists like yourself, we've learned that many of the unique rituals or routines that help spark those artists and enhance their creativity. Could you share a little bit about any creative habits or practices that maybe are part of your process? And at the same time, while we know drawing and design are at the heart of what you do, are there other creative pursuits outside of those areas that inspire or empower you?
Yeah, great question. I have to admit I'm lousy with rituals, and sort of like practices for that sort of thing. I have friends that will sketch every morning or some certain time of day, or they'll do a warm up before they go to work. And I mean, they're great for doing that. Like I used to do that, in my younger days, and it was wonderful. These days I've fallen off the wagon with it, with that kind of practice, and I really am aiming to get back on it. That said, I do have certainly productive times of the day that are pretty consistent for me. Not a morning person. For me, like between 9 a.m. and noon, like I'm conscious, but the wheels aren't turning yet. But like
Right.
after lunch through like
Love
8 o'clock at night, like that's when you're gonna get the best out of me for
Mhm.
sure. That's my happy place.
Love it.
But certainly burnout is a thing, if you're working too hard on the same sort of thing over and over again. And I found like recently in the last couple years that not just having hobbies, but for me having creative pursuits that are just not drawings. Like I recently got into doing glass working. I do
Mm.
flame working over a torch, which is like you use basically rods of glass and you can kind of make marbles or pendants or figurines, that kind of thing. Something that has very little crossover with design because it's real media. It's like no other medium I've ever used before. Glass is such a fickle beast. And it's something that really pulls me back into the present and
Okay.
makes me curious about the process. It makes me feel better about happy accidents, and it kind of makes me literally go with the flow as opposed to, if I'm drawing or designing, especially if it's for a client, then it's like, oh God, this has to be good. I have to use the things I know will work. This is on a deadline. So I think just sort of pursuing crafts and pursuing, you know, um, like artistic pursuits, I guess, that just pull me out of that kind of routine and keep me curious.
Right. Awesome. I love it. I love it. I want to remind everybody, please make sure you're clicking on to our moderators are dropping the links for Stephanie in here for X and for Instagram and for her website. You can add it to one of your favorites over there. That'd be great. If you're new to us tonight, finding us live or on the replay, hit that subscribe. We're interviewing many, many talented artists, much like Stephanie, on this channel consistently.
Well, I want to go ahead and shift gears for a moment and talk about something that many of us in the Disney community can relate to, and that is collecting. We all love to collect something Disney. I know you've built an incredible Disney art book collection over the years. Could you share how that collection began, especially with that massive coffee book, that Lion King book that we have right there on the screen, and how it's grown and evolved since then?
Oh, I still have it.
There you go.
That's a big
Yep,
book.
after all these years, it survived from the 8th grade onwards.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, this is a relic. Yeah, so the Lion King book was the first, and really it all kind of went in sequential order after that. Like again, I would just spend babysitting money. When Mulan came out, I got that art book. And this, again, back in the day when we had brick and mortar bookstores, like I would get them sight unseen. They were like sealed in plastic, but I'm like, nope, I know I'm gonna love this. I'm gonna get it, and I was never wrong. But really, over the years, like I don't have every single movie art book for every single film from 1994 onward. I did have to get a little judicious for budget reasons,
Right,
obviously.
budgetary reasons.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I do have all my favorites. I have, a ton of the Disney concept art books. I have. I started in recently on this series. I think it's called "They Drew as They Pleased." But it's these anthologies of Disney feature film art from just different eras of Disney, all the way through the Disney Renaissance, and just wonderful, wonderful collections of concept art and things that even look very much like unlike the Disney style because it was so early in development. But it's just great to see something perhaps more closer to the artist's native style. Just
Right.
really, really good resource. And then of course, like I expanded out into DreamWorks books and other feature films, but really it's the feature film books that I get the most out of because it covers all aspects of production. We have storyboards, there's biz dev, character design, and it's really interesting to kind of see it all as one, unit and to kind of remember how this all ties together,
Right. That's a great question.
If you had to estimate how many books you have in your collection, what would be a good ballpark number?
Looking at them right now.
Over under 18.
Closer to 40?
Oh,
I was
geez.
gonna say I'm going over 18.
I was trying to get Paul Engel to bet so I can make some money, but
that's like betting $1 on Price is Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was doing. That's exactly what I was doing. I love that. Awesome. Great question. I love learning what is the inspirations like that. It's amazing stuff. Well, I want to continue this trend that Jen started and talking about collectibles and especially those tied to the Festival of the Arts in Epcot. I understand that you have a real passion for collecting things from characters like Figment, the Orange Bird, and of course, I see a friend there on your shoulder, Mr. Remy, as well. Could you share with our audience a bit about what draws you to those characters and how they become part of your collecting journey?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, Remy's the easiest one. I have a love affair for rodents. I am rodentially inclined. And over the course of my life.
Hold on, stop. That is the first time I've ever heard rodentially inclined, and I'm going to steal it and use it because that's fantastic. I love it. I'm sorry. Go ahead. That was awesome.
All good. Yes, I am very rodentially inclined. And over the course of my life, I've had, I think, 24 pet rats.
Wow.
Not at the same time. In sets of twos usually, but I just adore them. The sad thing is they don't live very long. They only live a couple of years, 4 if you're lucky. But I remember when I saw Ratatouille, I was so blown away at how the animators just knew rats. They knew all of the little micro expressions that rats get. They knew all the mannerisms. They knew every twitch. They knew how they run.
Right.
Oh my God. And it was just wonderful to finally see a story where like the rat is the hero. Like so often in like animated movies, the rats are the villains. Even in video games, what's the first enemy you fight? It's usually a rat. And it's just tired of it, man. Like they're awesome little creatures. So Remy for me was a no-brainer. And actually the first year that I was at the Festival of the Arts was my first year that I got to go to Disney World. Like I'm a late adopter. but I got to go on the Ratatouille ride, and it was so good, so awesome, and now it's a regular for me. So
Love it. Love it. And then Orangebird and Figment, just part of your love and affection?
same. So again, also a late adopter with them because I didn't get to go to Disney World till pretty late in life. But Orangebird I discovered again at the Festival of the Arts, and I fell in love with him. He is just a bunch of happy circles. Like his to go all technical, I mean, his shape language is just wonderful. He's incredibly fun to draw and like move around on the paper. He's just so happy. And I mean, he represents one of my favorite treats, which is the creamsicle Dole Whip. I like the orange cream one. Not a fan of pineapple, don't hate me. But he after the first year I was there, he became my favorite character to draw, and every single year that I can do the festival, I try to include an Orange Bird piece because he is just such a knockout for me. I love him so much.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And Figment?
Well, Figment was also kind of a no-brainer because I mean, he's imagination. You know,
Yeah.
he's the mascot for the Festival of the Arts, but again, kind of regretting that I couldn't grow up with him. Like I went on oh gosh, the name of the ride is escaping me. What is Figment's ride called? Journey into
Journey
Imagination.
Imagination. Yep.
Yeah. I went on that again late in life, and it's just I know that the original version fans will tell me was better, and I have no basis of comparison, but I believe you. But this version was pretty dang cool too, and he won my heart right away. So that's again,
I'd love to see them update that with today's technology and see what they could do with that with Figment.
100%.
That would
100%.
be absolutely amazing. Well, very cool characters, and you'll see them inspired in her art if you find her, hopefully in California or Florida during upcoming events. You want to make sure that you're doing that.
Well, and speaking of that, I know you've had the opportunity to interact directly with those purchasing your art at these festivals, whether at Disney California Adventure or at Epcot International Festival of the Arts. How have these experiences and interactions with Disney fans impacted you as an artist, and what have you taken away from those moments?
Oh, great question. So I see you have the picture of all the bracelets,
All the
and
bracelets.
oh my God, this is like, I didn't realize people were doing this until it happened, and I'm so happy about it. So, some guests have come by, and they make these wonderful bracelets with the names of their favorite pieces that their favorite artists have done, or this one woman who came by this year gave me one that said Magic Maker because we really connected, and she came back and gave it to me. Just wonderful, wonderful. And I mean, it's a small gesture, but oh my God, does it mean so much? I get these wonderful reminders of the people that I meet there every year. And, certainly, as an artist, like especially as a freelance artist, I've been freelancing now, working from home for the last, oh God, 16 years, I think. Maybe
Wow.
I'm wrong. I don't know. It's been over a decade, and that's hard because I'm an extrovert, so it's been a struggle. But to finally connect with these people, to actually see that I'm not just throwing art out into a void, that this is reaching people. They have stories about it. They tell me how it made them feel. Like that kind of connection is everything to me. Like art is nothing if it's not connecting. And as a tangent to that, another big, highlight of these festivals for me is meeting the kids. Unfortunately, kids were not in the cards for me, is what it is. But I love to be able to meet these kids who have been affected by my artwork. And my gosh, this past year, I had these two wonderful girls come up with their mom, and they were one of them was dressed like a character from a show I worked on, Young Jedi Adventures, and they had drawn me pictures of Star Wars characters and given them to me, and we were just talking about the show and everything, and it was just absolute magic, absolute magic. And I could not be happier, to these families who are introducing their kids to me and just bringing me into their world. And I cannot thank them enough for that. It means the world and more.
Love that. Also want to just point out there that on the screen we have That is the 2025 schedule, everybody. So just to be clear, my point of throwing that up tonight was to remind everybody, our artist friends, they're friends of the channel and our community. Once they've done our show, they're down there for many days, and they have a window of time. So you can definitely make sure that you can get some time to get in front of them, say hello, get a piece signed, purchase a piece, all that kind of good stuff, and get a couple minutes interaction through their time there. So look for more of that to come, hopefully in the future, with both California and Florida from Stephanie as well. Dave's Disney Dreams, welcome in, and Nanny Pooh Bear as well. We talked about Golden Books a little bit ago. I think it's a great time to dive into that over here. You've illustrated over 60 children's books and counting. And we'll be diving into your artwork on here in the Golden Books in a few minutes. But before we get there, I'd love to talk and take a special minute to talk to Disney fans may recognize here the Stitch Crashes Disney. This book is available in both Disney parks throughout the online retailers. Can you share a little bit about that project and how it came about and that unique part of doing that?
Oh my god, yeah, that book was such a dream come true. Um, so I had been exhibiting at Wonderground for a couple of years and kind of built a body of, like, Disney illustration work,
Hmm.
and, at this time, I was employed, I guess, represented, by a publishing agency, and one of my agents contacted me because 'cause she'd seen the artwork I'd done for Wonderground, and she's like, "Hey, I think I have a book for you." And then, I talked to the art director and I saw the story and I'm like, "Oh my god, it's just like that ad campaign I remember where Stitch is in all these different Disney movies." And, the premise of the book is that, we're going from like movie to movie and Stitch is somewhere in the background, like messing up the scene and kids kind of have to come find him and whatnot. So it was so cool because, one, gave me a lot of freedom with my own style.
Oh,
As long as
nice.
I was on model, like I got to kind of render it the way I wanted, which was a gift. Um, the other really fun thing was that, in the book, he goes through a ton of different movies, like Lion King is one of them. But I mean, Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, just ruining all these iconic moments. And it's just, I got to, dive back into some of my favorite movies and just, pull up really beautiful reference and just be like, oh my God, I can't believe I get to do this. It felt like a homecoming for lack of a better word.
I love it. That's awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Cool.
Well, I want to follow up on Pete's question and your incredible success with the Golden Books franchise. Could you talk about what that partnership has meant to you personally and professionally? You've brought so much magic to that line of the Golden Books. And within that world, the Grumpy Cat books have really stood out. Could you spend a few minutes sharing your experience working on that part of the franchise and why it resonates so strongly?
Oh gosh, yeah. So Grumpy Cat was also another dream come true. So the Golden Books in general, I'm
Hmm.
just gonna blanket statement, they were also a dream come true. They're kind of a milestone in a book illustrator's career to be able to do a little golden book, just among like
Mm.
professionals. And I was so excited. Oh my gosh. So with Grumpy Cat, I basically had to pitch to get this book. They wanted me to do like a cover sample for it, and the cover you see before you is the sample that I submitted. And I got really lucky. They liked it right off the bat, and that's just the style that we went with. And similar to the Stitch book, I was very lucky because they wanted me to use my native style. I got to have a ton of freedom in the way that I rendered things, and I just went with it. It was nothing but fun for me. I got to use those big simple shapes, lots of painterly textures that I love to use. Hi, Mary
Hmm.
Blair. Um, and the stories were really fun, and I kind of like Grumpy Cat as a character because it sort of turned children's books on their heads, where the writing for the book is actually pretty darn rude. Like, these animals try to engage Grumpy Cat in typical cutesy children's book activities, but Grumpy Cat's just not having it and is telling them to go away or like get out or just snubbing everyone or insulting
Right.
them. And I kind of get that, you know. I feel that.
Get that. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's a great segment. I love that.
Hmm.
Absolutely love it. Make
Yeah,
sure you're
that's a,
checking out again. Remind you, draw. Make sure you're checking out the links for our guest tonight and all of her social medias. We're going to talk a little bit more about them a little bit later on in the show. Well, with all your illustration success, I kind of want to jump over for a second and spend a few minutes showcasing a few of your pieces of your artwork. Just to ask you, I've got about two or three of them lined up here that I'd like to ask your kind of your inspiration, your thought process behind it. Here, if we could, if you'd spend a couple minutes, on concept and everything. This one resonates because how can you not like? Jen, what is this ride? Is it Buzz Lightyear? Which one are we talking about right here? It's her
It's a
favorite.
small
It's
world.
her favorite one. That's why I love messing with her. So
It's a
this
small world.
the colors. Okay, for me as a person who loves to hang a piece of art in my house, the colors here are vibrant. They pop. The storyline is right there. You can relate 100% with some of the characters in there. The upside down monkey, the giraffe, the croc. I mean, it's just so good. Uh, I'd like to hear it from your vantage point.
Oh man. So yeah, first of all, thank you for everything you said about the piece. That's fantastic. For me, this piece was pure indulgence. I got to pick my favorite Mary Blair colors, and pick two of my favorite parts of the ride, especially the frogs. I don't see the frogs in enough artwork, and my God, like, where's my frog figurine? For God's sakes, like, I need more frog merch. Um, but yeah, I mean, I basically for this one, I knew I wanted to do a small world piece when I pitched it, but I noticed that a lot of the small world pieces in the festival were very pastel and kind
Hmm.
of working from that palette, which is great. Like I love me as some pastels, but I really wanted to go back to Mary's concept art for Small World, and that's exactly what I referenced. I pulled a ton of images of her work for the ride, and just pulled from that, just in terms of the palette, in terms of the rendering. And it's actually pretty striking too to look at the attraction now and see how many of her rough concepts made it to physical reality with very little change to them.
Yeah. And the fact that she's still, so many years after, unfortunately, she's left us with this earth, that she still resonates when people walk in and they say the name Mary Blair, you just know it. So
Yeah.
that's unreal. Okay, let's go over
Yeah.
here and let's talk about these two pieces. I don't see enough Tiki Room out there, so when I saw I'll be honest with you, and everybody in the chat will back this up, and Jen will too. I have been showing this Tiki Bird project by you ever since you and I talk. Like every night I do a show, I'm showing this piece because I think it's amazing. And I am an orange bird lover. I don't mind saying that. I think it's a very unique character that ties
Mhm.
specifically to Florida, to Disney. And of course, this one, he's got a Dole Whip and or he's having a vanilla Mr. Softy. It's one of the two. Either way, I'm very happy with
It's a
that.
Dole Whip.
Okay. I
I'm
still like
saying
it.
that's a Dole Whip. That
I've
looks like a vanilla pineapple swirl Dole Whip.
okay.
My favorite.
That
I'll
was the
concede.
intention, but we can make
So
it a Rorschach test. It's whatever treat strikes
whatever
you.
treat you see. But tell us a little bit about these. Love these pieces.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I love the Tiki Room. Like, who doesn't?
Right.
Apologies to fans of Michael. I wanted to fit him on the composition, but I'm sorry, I liked the flowers a little bit more. But yeah, I mean the Tiki Room was one of my, I think, the first attractions that I went to at a Disney park. Again, I was a late adopter and I didn't go to a Disney park until I was a teenager, and that was Disneyland.
Mhm.
And I remember going in there because it was so hot and I knew it was air conditioned. My friend told me to check it out. And I went in there and I was like, oh my God, I'm in heaven right now. This is everything I need in the world.
Right.
And it really just stuck with me. It's an experience I cannot get enough of. It's one of my regulars for every park visit, sometimes multiple times. And I just wanted to really capture just the colors and just sort of like the controlled chaos and the movement that goes on in that ride, because everything, all parts of that attraction are alive.
Yeah.
There's so much life to it. So that's where I was going with that one. If I do another Tiki Room piece, I'll try and put Michael in. um,
And
and then, oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead. I was going to say, Orange Bird is gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, for this piece in particular, this is just kind of one of my favorite palettes to work with. I love mint green, and I love the way, like, peach and orange really kind of play off of it.
Hmm.
And I just took it off from there. I mean, I had kind of a weird salmon color for the shadow, but I felt like it worked. And I'm like, you know what? We're just gonna roll with this one and keep it kind of weird and unconventional. And it's honestly, I think, my favorite orange bird piece that I've done. No shade to this current year's piece, but it just kind of, to me, is about that, like, that cozy comfort. It's a
Yes.
summer day, but you're cool because you have your treat. He's sitting down, he doesn't have to be anywhere. That's what getting a Dole Whip is. It's your break. Ideally you go to the tiki room with it and you just zone out.
Yeah. That's unbelievable. Love those pieces. Okay.
Well, I want to switch to something that I know my little nephew would be interested in hearing because this is one of his favorite shows. But I want to take a moment to talk about the Young Jedi Adventures. It's just become a widely watched hit across Disney Plus. You can find it on Hulu, YouTube TV, Fubo, Sling. It's everywhere. Everywhere has the Young Jedi Adventures. Could you share with us a bit about your involvement in this project and what it's been like to see it resonate with such a broad and enthusiastic audience?
Yes, it has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never saw this coming. I got so lucky, to be picked for the team for this. It was honestly a show that was, in the beginning, outside of my comfort zone. I don't
Hmm.
have a lot of sci-fi experience, and certainly I know and understand Star Wars. Like, child of the 80s, I had an older brother, and my father was into it. So, like, I knew a lot of Star Wars through osmosis. But I really lucked out with this show because my main role was a creature designer. So I got to design tons of aliens and, like, non-sentient species. And I was very fortunate that a friend of mine who was a designer for Star Wars for many, many years, she was willing to share insight with me on kind of, what, I guess, formula is not the right word, but like what, sort of the building blocks of a Star Wars creature are. Because there's a very strange sort of like Goldilocks zone of, like, what makes this Star Wars, versus a Pokemon, for example. Like, how many species do we bring into an animal design and still make it cute for kids? And that was another challenge too, is that, oftentimes Star Wars is geared towards an older audience.
Right.
If you have like a three-eyed goat alien and you have to make this appealing to kids, you have to walk a very fine line,
Right.
but I was really happy, to do that. And I think, some of my best work came out of the show, and, fantastic team, super lucky. And I'll tell you, it was an incredible moment for me when the first season came out and I saw my name in the credits in the Star Wars font. I was screaming. I never thought
I
that
love
would
it.
happen, never saw it
That's so
coming.
cool. Mhm.
And again, I mentioned that my father is a big Star Wars fan, and I, was home visiting him after the show came out, and I showed him an episode, and again, my name in the credits, and he was like so proud, and I just lost it. It
That's
was
awesome.
wonderful.
Of
That is
course.
fantastic. Love that.
Oh, I love that.
Love that. Great question, Jen. Love that. And of course, the Star Wars universe is huge. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's a great concept that they would be reaching out to the youngest ages to try to get them
Mhm.
started early so that they can dig all back in. It's just a residual follow through of a story. It's a great idea.
Mhm.
Great
Yeah.
idea. Well, a little bit earlier you talked about glass blowing. I kind of wanted to jump back over there for a second and talk about that. How different is that for you when you start getting into a different forum like this where it's art, it takes time and all that, but it's totally different
Mhm.
than illustration, and I'd imagine a lot different than pen and pencil or paint to canvas. So tell me a little bit about that, about the differences as you're putting that together between the two.
Yeah, definitely. So like I was saying, working with physical media has completely different rules than working digitally, even if we're just talking paint versus the computer, right? Um, Glass is nothing I have ever encountered before. It is incredibly fragile, temperamental, but also incredibly sturdy if you do it right. Um, you kind of learn how different colors react under the flame. Like, the
Hmm.
flame has different variables, like oxygen versus propane. You'll get different colors, you'll get different melting points. Like, there's just so much. that's going on at once when you're working with glass, and so much that you kind of have to keep track of mentally. And it can be overwhelming at times, but once you kind of get into that flow state and you're just kind of in it and just sort of watching what the glass is doing over the flame, like it's, I don't want to say it's meditation because you can't zone out because you'll burn yourself like really bad.
Right.
Um, but it just puts my mind in a different place, and it's made me become more loose about letting go and following the process rather than having a plan for what I want the final thing to be. Because I had touched on before, when you're doing things for a job, like you're on a deadline, you're on a pipeline, you got to make sure you do what works because it has to get done and done well. But
Right.
exploring a medium I've never touched before, and figuring out the potential of it, and I have so far to go with glass, my God. But just learning it and reigniting that curiosity, of something new, a new form of expression. It's been
Right.
wonderful. And as a little side note too, it's funny. I'm also doing jewelry enameling, which is melting powdered glass onto metal. This piece that I'm wearing right now is one that I made.
Oh, wow.
And one of the first projects I had done was of a cartoon cat. And the teacher was looking at me funny because it wasn't, typically an approach people would do for enameling. And then she remembered from my introduction that I worked in animation. She goes, "Ah, you're a Disney artist. That's why you're making cartoon animals." And I'm like, "Oh no."
There you go. That's I love it. I love that, there's so much variety in your artistic creating.
Mhm.
I know my friend is going to be happy to talk about this topic because Jen and I are always amazed when this topic comes up and how many of our artist friends are involved. So, Jen?
We're going to talk about Disney merch. You've had the incredible opportunity to contribute to Disney merchandise, something that becomes part of the magic that fans take home with them, and can enjoy forever. Can you share with us what it's like seeing your artwork translated into actual tangible products and what that experience has meant to you as a creator?
Oh my gosh, great question. Yeah, so I guess to answer the last question, it's awesome. It's so cool to see a concept in real life, and even better if like I'm at the park and I see someone wearing it, like I lose my mind. It's like, "Oh my god,
Yeah,
there it is in the wild." Um,
yeah.
so the Loungefly backpack was interesting. I actually didn't have any say in that per se because what they ended up doing is they reused one of my illustrations from a Lion King songbook that I illustrated. And a friend of mine sent me a link to it and was like, "Isn't this your art?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, I need to go buy this now." Um, the the vacation poster was actually for a gallery show. I think it was at Gallery Nucleus. Every year they do like a Disney destinations show where you do a travel themed poster based on a Disney movie,
Hmm.
and oops, Mary Blair, like of course. But it just, it just felt like a really natural fit. And then for the Pixar one, I was contacted by Loot Crate, which unfortunately is now defunct. That's back when they were doing like monthly subscription boxes, and for the Pixar subscription box, they wanted to do this jacket design. So this was incredibly challenging because there was a limit to the number of colors I could use because they're printing in ink, and ink is expensive. So I think, oh, I want to say it's between 5 and 7 colors maybe.
Okay.
Probably 7 looking at it. So it was tricky because like I had to limit the colors and I had to make sure characters were still, on model enough. Um in figuring out, okay, where can I share this blue? Like, oh, there's a lot of the same green on Buzz and the aliens. Got to make sure I've got blue to
Mhm.
separate that. Like, it really informed the design quite a bit. And there was a lot of back and forth on that, but we got there. So,
I got to be honest. I absolutely love that piece. I think
oh,
Mhm.
thank you.
it tells the Pixar story. Obviously it can't encompass the whole entire story, but key components. I mean, you're talking the Toy
Mhm.
Story area. You got Monsters Inc. in there. You've got Up in there. And you've got our good friend singing the guitar. You got Wally up there in the corner. You got Dory. I mean, this is just unbelievable. I
Well,
love this
thank you for
Thank
piece.
you.
I absolutely love this piece. Jen, I think
Mhm.
I knew when I saw this piece you would love this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you fit everything in there so perfectly, you know. And I know you said you limited the number of colors that you can use in there, but like from my untrained eye, like I would never know that. Like it just looks beautiful. I mean, it's perfect the way it is. So
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I
that's
love
very
that piece.
creative. Mhm.
I love that piece. All right, well,
Yeah,
let's
for
take a
sure.
look and take a, just a look into that crystal ball. We can look into it. If you were looking, 5 years from now, where do you see yourself kind of both creatively and personally in your career? And, what are some of your aspirations and what can some of your fans and hopefully some new followers tonight be looking forward to seeing from you in the future?
Oh man, great question. Wow. Man, there's a lot of options, I guess. I don't know. So one idea, it's still very vague. It's been shooting around for years. I do want to eventually write a children's book. Um,
Nice.
I still yeah, I still haven't figured out the story, which sounds bad, but I know what I want the book to do, which is I want to write a book that helps little kids deal with really hard emotions. Um, emotions like anger or sadness or grief, even. The types of books that I might have wanted when I was a really little kid, but may not
Mm-hmm.
have existed yet. There's one particular book I can think of called Ida Always, and it's a children's book that's based on a true story about these two polar bears that were at the Central Park Zoo. And it's a
Okay.
book about grief where one of the polar bears, it's told from the bear's perspective.
Okay.
It's one of the bears gets sick with cancer, and the other bear has to kind of figure out what's going on and understand what's happening, and spoiler, the bear does pass, and the other one is grieving. And in a very, touching and non-condescending way, it helps kids, I think, not feel alone with big feelings like that and to feel seen. And I would love to write a book that can do that. So I guess it's pretty ambitious, but that's the type of thing I want to put out in the world, is something that'll really help, a kid that might be feeling lonely like that,
Love that. Love that. Hey, I wish you
Yeah.
the best of success with that. Want to remind everybody, we've been
Mhm.
talking about it all night long. You can follow Stephanie on our Instagram. Debbie's been dropping those links in there throughout the night. Click on her Instagram, give him a follow right there. You can also keep up with her over on the X over there with her all, gives you available for work. She's ready to go if you want to sign her up for get her locked up doing a special painting for you. I'm sure that could be worked out. Keep up with everything that she's got going over there. And of course, her website, you can get on there and you can check everything out. You can reach out to Stephanie, talk about those works, any private works you want to follow as well. And of course, keep in mind that we're hoping, optimistic. We know with all of our artists this year that we will find out in late November, early December, when that list comes out of the artists that are lined up for the Festival of the Art and for later on this year with Disneyana out there at the Wonderland Galleries. Hey, this is the Wonderground Galleries. This is a great thing for opportunities for you to meet Stephanie face to face and maybe get one of her pieces of work. Steph, we always close things out with our guests here with a quick um, final thought as we go through. So, from you, a final thought of the evening from your side of the artist gallery.
Final thought. Be kind, be weird, and get out there, I guess.
Nice.
Love
Okay.
that.
I like it. I'll take it.
I
That's
love
a good one.
that. Be kind, be weird, and get out there. Okay, I
Do you
will.
do you do you want to pay her now for all the times you're now going to use that at the end of a stream?
I
I give that to you for free. That you can use
there we
Redemptory
go.
Incline too.
It sounds like me. Be
Well,
kind and
Jen,
be weird and get out there.
absolutely. Before Jen does her final thought and I do mine, I want to
Mhm.
remind everybody too that Bob Weiss is coming to the channel in 2 weeks. Disney Senior Vice President of Operations for Walt Disney Imagineering for so many years. He touched every park in some way, shape, or form. We've got a huge interview coming up with him on the 17th, and right behind him the next night, 2 nights back to back of dialogues as Jason W. Chrisman, who actually works directly for Lucasfilms and is an incredible Star Wars artist, will be coming here to the channel. I'm so excited to talk with both of them. Jen, final thought of the night for our tonight, for your side.
It's been another great interview. I mean, every time we interview one of these artists, we touch on a different form of art that we haven't seen from other artists before. So, you think art, you instantly think paint on canvas or pencil on canvas or something like that. And you don't realize how much art branches out into so many different ways. I loved seeing the little golden books illustrations that you've done. I love the It's a Small World. I love the Orange Bird. I love it all. I love it all. You are so talented. You are so gifted. You have such a heart. And I'm so honored that you joined us tonight. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jen.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you both so much. I honored and humbled to be here. So grateful for you guys taking a chance on me. Like, absolutely. I'm thrilled to be here, and it was wonderful.
I love that.
Awesome.
Love that. The thing that I want to say is, guys, when I ask you, there's a lot of nice compliments here coming up in the chat. You'll have to go back and maybe when the show renders, it takes about 24 to 48 hours to render. You'll see a ton of great compliments about your work and all your pieces.
Oh
Guys,
my gosh.
when I ask you to go out and support an artist like we've done with many of these before, because they work so hard and a lot of them work independently, as you heard Stephanie talking about earlier in the stream, one of the keys here is what they do. And the artists do it for their love of the art, but they also do it to raise and cover their incomes for how they take care of themselves. And that's an amazing thing. And I talk about the heart of the artist a lot. You've heard me say that before, and I want to recognize that again tonight. Stephanie and Jen and I were just spending a few minutes together talking before the stream, just in general conversation. We got to talking about the charity, and everybody knows how close that is to my heart. For what we're doing for raising funds to help those who are less fortunate than us that we don't even know. And Stephanie, before the show started, says, "Hey, I want to help. I want to send you something to help raise money for your charity." And this is what I'm talking about, guys. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. Good people, amazing, beautiful people. Yes, great interview tonight, Dave. I agree, but an even better person. Stephanie is just impressed me with not only her talent, but her genuineness and her generosity. So for those of you that are looking to participate in donating to the event coming up, and I know there's many of you in here, something from Stephanie will be featured and you'll have an opportunity to do that. So thank you. I want to thank you for that. Incredible. I know you were a little nervous on the interview when we talked at first, but man, you slayed this. This was an awesome interview, and I hope it brings you a lot of residual success in the future. Really do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm speechless. It's wonderful.
Awesome. Hang tight for a second. I'm going to close out with Jen. We'll chat with you backstage for a minute when we're done. Jen, oh God, these interviews just, it's kind of like, you and I are both big baseball fans. It's kind of like when that hitter's getting up there and it's base hit after base hit after base hit after base hit. It's continued success with these dialogues, no matter which format we go to, whether it's authors or artists or Imagineers or just those impactful people that are doing something in Disney. Man, it's a beautiful thing.
It is, each of them, like I say this, I'm a repeating record, all the time, but they each have their own unique thing that defines the word artist for them. The word artist is this big, huge umbrella of things. And to see each of their personalities in each of their forms of art that they do, it's just mind-blowing sometimes.
And for her to keep Mary Blair alive and in people's minds.
Oh, for
You
sure.
can see that inspiration behind her pieces. Absolutely love that as well. So you
Mhm.
can't beat that. Guys, if you're not up on Mary Blair, go do some reading. She's a Disney legend, and rightfully so. And the fact that she's inspired so many others behind that. Heck, you can't go through the contemporary without seeing Mary Blair's work for there it is too. David T, welcome in. Thank you for joining here. And Halfbox Ghost at the end. Coming back in just a couple weeks, our next shows are going to be huge. Bob Weiss, you can't get any bigger than the president of Walt Disney Imagineering, who has physically overseen some type of creation in every park. Unbelievable. Last thing he did was Cars Land, I believe. So can't wait for that. And yes, everybody, I am going to ask him the question. What do you think of what Disney Imagineering is doing now with the new concepts are coming out? I may get yelled at, or I may get a great answer. We'll find out that night. Jen, it's been my pleasure to do dialogues and sit with you and our
Thank you.
guests again this week. Come back next shows. Bob Weiss and Jason W. Chrisman. You can't go wrong. I'll see you tomorrow night. I'm doing Phantasmic. I am broadcasting Look, I'm getting goosebumps about Phantasmic. I can't wait to say Steamboat Willie on the boat coming around. I'll be live tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. Phantasmic, right here on the channel. For Jen, for myself, for Stephanie, we'll see you next time when we have a little bit of dialogue. Oops, jump back in. My fault. I'm hitting too many buttons tonight.